So as I was walking home today, someone shouted at me out the window of their car. And it was only one word that they shouted, and I would like to dissect the meaning and the intent behind that shouting in just a moment. But let the record show that when the incident happened, when the incident occurred, this is what I was wearing. This is what I looked like at the time. So, as I was coming home today, I stopped momentarily on my bike, and I was sort of like straddling the frame in between like the handlebars and the seat. And I just kind of stopped there on the sidewalk because I was texting back and forth with a friend, and I was answering him, and a car rolls by, going, wicked quick on a nice little residential road, and somebody shouts out the window just as they're going by, "Faggot." And you might think that I would be offended by that for a number of reasons. However, I am choosing to take it as a compliment for a number of reasons. And as I was coming home and thinking about it, and thinking about making this video, I realized that I would have really have liked to have that have been a more face-to-face interaction, like to be able to stop and talk to this young man who felt the need to shout at a stranger and sort of dissect his motives and what his thoughts about the whole thing were. Because, as some of you may be able to tell, I am female assigned at birth, and my body reflects that. But I had before, what I was wearing and all that. And I was stopped, and, he couldn't hear my voice. So he was able to hear how high-pitched it is and all that. So, going at high speeds or whatever, seeing a person standing there in, a t-shirt and jeans who maybe looks a little bit effeminate, but not necessarily enough to be female or whatever. It's just like such an interesting thing. But like to see that and be like, oh, I'm having a negative reaction to that. I better interfere somehow and let them know that they're doing wrong. No, it's just so funny. But it was really interesting for me because I do have this very androgynous look, and I do feel more that I am just an androgynous thing, more so than a woman or man or whatever human being. Man not a human being, it's up for debate. But it's interesting to have that be reflected back to you by society. I'm choosing to identify this young man as just sort of a side effect of the society that he lives in. So that's how I'm taking it that society sees me now as a faggot. And I'm kind of cool with that. I kind of like that. Because it recognizes that I am coming from a more masculine place. However, the way I'm choosing to express it is in a feminine way, and that's kind of perfect. That's kind of where I'm coming from. So I kind of dug it. Because, I would have liked to have sat down with this young man and been like, hey, what you said to me wasn't an insult. I know you meant it as an insult, and I know you meant it as a put down, but it kind of elevated me. And it would have been nice and interesting for him to realize that and to try and understand it, because I think that would be really eye-opening, especially for someone who's not in the queer community, to try and understand how people identify and how that could somehow not be an insult. Maybe I'm just overwhelmingly positive about everything. That might also be the case. No one knows that. She knows I'm very positive. Yes. But, so it was interesting. A very interesting thing. And I know that I certainly by no means want to encourage anyone to yell at people out of their cars. That's not a good thing. It's very impolite. You should sit down with people and be like, hey, I think you're this thing, and give them a chance to rebuttal. Like, you shouldn't actually do that. It's a really bad idea. But, I don't know, it's just the perspective that I'm seeing it from. Maybe someone else will find this interesting. Maybe they won't find it helpful at all. Maybe they'll find it really harmful. I hope not. I really hope not. Because I found it really interesting. And it made me think a lot. Yeah. So, but obviously I'm coming from a very unique perspective. It's not gonna be your typical reaction. So, you know, I didn't have any eggs to pelt at the car. I kinda, because somebody in the car turned around and looked out the back window at me, because there was like, you know, 5 guys in the car or whatever, teenagers, and one of them was like looking back at me, and I made eye contact with him, and I was like, and then I kind of did like a come at me, but like, whatever. Because it would have been interesting to sort of follow through on. So that was my exciting journey home.